Mama's Learning Corner. I'm Lauren. I appreciate you joining me here in my kitchen again. I love to cook meals for my family, cook most every single night, and I just wanted to share what we're gonna eat tonight with all of you. So tonight I'm cooking a staple meal for our family, and it's called Cowboy Grub. And I got the original recipe from one of the first Trim Healthy Mama cookbooks, but I have to vary it a lot. So I wanna share with you our version of Cowboy Grub. And we usually serve it with cheese and sour cream on the side and a big plate of piping hot homemade cornbread. So let me show you what we do. So I have 5 children, so I feed a family of 7 every night, 2 adults and 5 children, and 4 of my children eat like adults because they're bigger kids. So this serves us, usually a good meal in the evening, and almost all of us can have leftovers for lunch the next day. So it's pretty simple. It's a large can of petite diced tomatoes, drained corn, white corn, 2 cans of navy beans, 2 cups of minute brown rice, 2 cups of water, and then a couple of spices. And this is the chicken from my freezer. I almost always have diced cooked chicken in my freezer. So this is 5 cups, which is about the equivalent of 2 pounds. So I just took this out and defrosted it during the morning. And so that's the first thing to go into our pot. And that just makes it so easy. That just makes it super easy for this meal to come together quickly. So I'm gonna open up the other cans, and then I'll get the rice and the spices in there next. Okay, to my 5 cups of chicken I have in the pot, I'm gonna add my 2 cans of drained navy beans. And I'll tell you, beans are an easy way to stretch this, or not stretch it if you don't need to stretch it. But I had 2 cans, you can easily just add 1. This is super forgiving. So 2 cans of drained navy beans, and then a can of drained corn. And then I like to use petite diced tomatoes just because they're a little smaller, and I don't drain that. Just all of it goes in. Okay, and then, so it's starting to come together a little bit. And then I add, I like to use a minute brown rice because it cooks up so quickly, and it's still brown rice, so it's very forgiving to your blood sugar. So I just keep mine in a large Ziploc container. So I'm measuring 2 cups of that, a little bit more. Or again, like if you're not making it for a bigger crowd like me, you could just put 1 cup. That'll be fine. But however many cups of brown rice you put, you need to put that many cups of water. So I use 2 cups of rice. I'm going to use 2 cups of water. And this is going to be thicker. It's more like a stew than like a white chicken chili. It's definitely more of a thicker variety. Okay, so next we're just going to put in some spices. Real easy. So a teaspoon of cumin, and a little bit more, about 1/3 or 1/2. And I usually do a good 3/4 of a cup of garlic powder. Of course, you can suit any of it to your taste. And then I do about 1.5 tablespoons of chili powder. Now, if I am putting chicken in here that's already been salted and peppered, because after I cook it, I go ahead and salt and pepper it before I ever put it in the freezer. If I did not have that, if I did not already have salt and pepper in my pot on the chicken, I'd use a good teaspoon or 2 of salt and a good round of pepper, but just to taste, whatever you think to taste. And that's it. Now I'm just gonna put it on the stove, and we're just gonna let it all heat through, and it's gonna cook the rice. So I'm gonna turn my stove on. I usually try to cook mine goes from low and then 2, 4, 6, 8 high. I usually try to cook mine around 3 and let it get warm. I usually keep it on the stove about, say an hour or so, but really you could cook it harder than that and it not take nearly as long. But you definitely want the rice to be soft. So you can see that it's definitely more of a thicker concoction There's a little bit of liquid in it, but some of that is going to be soaked up by the brown rice, of course. Now, if you like it a little bit more watery or thinner, you can certainly put more water in it. It's very forgiving. I have tried chicken broth, and although I love chicken broth in almost everything, I feel like this one, the flavor is just better with water, even though that's not my normal experience. Okay, so we're just going to put a lid on it and let it cook for 30, 45 minutes to an hour. So let me just tell you a couple of quick things, if you don't mind. The first one, you can use any chicken you want, white meat, dark meat, thighs, whatever you've got in your freezer goes great. We've eaten it a multitude of ways, but it does need to be cooked chicken. Next, instead of diced tomatoes, you could also use 3 cans of Rotel. If your people like spicy, oniony, hot type stuff, Rotel is just a great option if you don't want to use diced tomatoes. My husband typically puts salsa on it. He likes things really hot. Unfortunately, I can't eat onions or peppers or any of that. They just make me feel so poorly, so I can't ever cook with those. Such a shame. So I just make mine really mild. For the kids and I just eat really mild, but my husband spices his up. The other thing is you can make this with any beans that you like. I like navy beans. They're smaller. I'm not a huge fan of pinto beans, despite being from the South. I know that is like a tragedy, but I'm not. They're too big for me. Or kidney beans, I don't really care for that. So I use the little tiny navy beans. Sometimes they're called white beans. But you could use black beans. You can use whatever you want. I have frozen it before, but it's pretty mushy once you thaw it. I think I had left it in the freezer about 3 weeks, just in individual portions to see if that would be a good, quick lunch. But it was a little bit mushy for me. So I prefer to cook it fresh each time. And if you have the chicken already in the freezer, I mean, it just goes fast. I can have it together in 5 minutes easily. So this is a very good meal for busy nights that I just don't have a lot of time to spend in the kitchen. Just goes together quick. I said earlier that we often eat this with hot homemade cornbread, but not always. Sometimes I make a fresh pan of biscuits or fresh pan of cheese biscuits. It just depends on what we've had recently, and we'd like something different. So I usually just cook whatever's quickest a lot of times. But it also goes well with tortilla chips on the side, or Fritos on the side, or some type of salty chip. That's really good with it too. So I'm gonna go shred some cheese, and we also eat sour cream on the side of this. So it's a bowl, and then everybody puts on their own cheese or sour cream. And then we'll be ready to eat. Okay, y'all, so it's been about 45 minutes. I left my Cowboy Grub on about 3 on my stove, and so it's just about finished. I can see it bubbling. The rice is nice and soft without being too mushy, and I smell my cornbread. So I'm gonna get all these things together and we're ready to eat.